Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Two Spot Monkeys Live. If you happen to be joining us on YouTube, we are live on Wednesday evening. We're recording this. Usually we record early Friday mornings, but life is in the way this week, so we're recording a little bit early. So some of the things that we might, I'll probably still put this out on the podcast feed on Friday. So some of the things might be out of date depending on what happens in the next 24 to 36 hours, perhaps. But it is a Wednesday evening. It's late Wednesday evening. I had trivia night, and here we are. It's late Wednesday evening, but I'm not alone. I've got Tom with me. Tom, how you doing?
Awesome. Coming to you live from an undisclosed location. It's
great. If you are watching us on YouTube, you see a different backdrop for Tom. There's not the window in the back that gives him the glow and the aura of the almighty Tom Bobo. But yeah, from an undisclosed location somewhere, still in the state of Michigan, we hear. But we are here to talk about what's going on in the world of wrestling. We're going to try to hit a little bit more and not just be on one company this week like we were last week due to kind of time constraints and the fact that Best in the World had 11 matches on it last week. But let's talk about Best in the World first. Tom and I were both able to see the show. Tom, you watched it live, and I caught it on Monday with basically no spoilers. Trying to think if anything did get spoiled for me. I don't think so. I think I effectively avoided spoilers. Stayed off of. Yeah, I don't think anything did.
And I say that's good because Ring of Honor was really out front with the things that happened that night on their social platforms. And apparently there were some folks that couldn't access the show on Honor Club.
Yeah.
And which you're in a tough spot, right? Ring of Honor can't cater just to those individuals. But what do you do?
Well, and Ring of Honor put out that you could try to access it through Fight. And I think some people misunderstood that because I think what they were thinking Ring of Honor was telling them was to pay the $20 or $30 on Fight for it. But the fact of the matter is, if you have Honor Club and you use the same email address with Fight, and I know because I've done this, so I know it works. If you use the same email with Fight that you use with Honor Club, you can access all of the Honor Club through Fight. So you can apparently play the pay-per-view. I didn't watch it that way. On Monday, I have Honor Club. It worked fine. So you can apparently watch it through Fight that way. They did talk about refunds, though, and that sort of thing. So it sounded like they were going to try to make it right for people. Tom, how did you watch on Sunday?
I watched on Honor Club, and it was a flawless stream the entire night. I had one moment where it paused for less than 3 seconds and it just had a spinning circle and then it popped up and it happened. There was a spot and they went to a replay. I missed them doing the replay. So more than 3 seconds probably, but it didn't spoil or take me out of the flow of the show.
Nice. Well, so what do you think of the show? Let's just talk we're not going to do three big things. We're just going to kind of free flow it. But what do you think of Ring of Honor's Best in the World?
Yeah, I you know what? A lot. It was a lot, but it was, we acknowledge that again. 11 matches is
in 4 hours.
Even with kind of like a soft start pre-show, it's almost in retrospect, adding a match to that first hour could have helped them maybe with some of the pacing and had things have time to breathe. Something that comes to mind is that tag title match. Seemed a little rushed. It seemed like it might have had the shortest time. I didn't look at match times at all by any means because that was late in the event and then you still had the main event to come. So there were some really strong matches. Things that stand out for me, the pure title match, Gresham and Mike Bennett exceeded expectations in my opinion. The main event was super solid. Rush and Bandito, and the big news is Bandito dethrones Rush and becomes Ring of Honor World Champion.
Hashtag free Bandito worked.
Free Bandito worked. Dragon Lee and Tony Deppen was an amazing, dangerous sprint. And I'm now a fan of Tony Deppen, at least for that match. So I'm coming around. And then I really loved, probably my second favorite match of the whole show was Jay Lethal Brody King. And again, it's a small sample size, but the kind of Ring of Honor fan Facebook Choose Your Honor group that they do, there's a lot of people upset with that outcome, and they thought Jay Lethal was buried. So either they're super drinking the Kool-Aid and they love Jay Lethal and think that he should be never used to get someone over. This is pro wrestling though, and this is faction warfare. And if you don't put Brody King over there, he's probably not going to ever come around in Ring of Honor again, or it's going to take a whole lot to build him back up. And it wasn't that he just mauled Lethal. He was dominant in the end, but it was a competitive match throughout. So those are my big kind of takeaways. I know we're not doing three big things. We're just talking about general, and I'm sure a few other things will come up, but those are my kind of like highest or low hanging fruit that I thought, man, these were the things I couldn't wait to talk to you about and also get your take on.
Yeah. And the thing is, to go to the Brody King thing for a minute, to make stars, they've got to beat somebody who means something. And Jay Lethal has kind of become the fourth guy in the Foundation. We kind of talked about that. Interestingly, the Foundation is on TV this weekend against Shane Taylor Promotions, but it's the Foundation and Joe Keys, no Jonathan Gresham, which maybe because Gresham worked 2 matches. I don't know. It's a little bit strange. Yet Tracy Williams, who wasn't cleared to work at the pay-per-view, is cleared to work on TV this week, which was taped in the day or two after the pay-per-view. Okay.
Are we sure this match this weekend was taped just recently, or was it taped maybe before?
I suppose it could have been before. I feel like, did Tracy miss the last tapings though?
He didn't. He was there.
He worked those. So maybe this is left over from the previous tapings. That could be. And Quinn and Mandy might be left over. They might have already taped that before the pay-per-view, the last set of tapings too. That could be. Maybe that makes me feel better if that's the case. Although continuity-wise, still a problem because a week later, Tracy Williams is cleared. I hope they make a comment on commentary about how that came to be. I don't know. It struck me as weird.
Yeah, I agree.
So yeah, I thought the show was good. Maybe not great. Would I put it up there with the greatest Ring of Honor shows of all time? Look, Ring of Honor hasn't had a show in a long time that I would put up there with the greatest Ring of Honor shows of all time. Partially because the bar for greatest Ring of Honor show of all time is really, really stinking high. Some of their stuff back in their heyday, I just don't think they're going to touch now. I got to thinking about this as I was listening to an interview last week with the artist formerly known as Buddy Murphy. I don't know what name he's going to go by. In fact, right now he's advertised for his first match, middle of September, against Brian Cage, which I think would be really fun to watch. But he's just listed as formerly known as Buddy Murphy. And I'm like, okay, so they got to come up with whatever his indie name's going to be. But I was trying to think, Buddy Murphy is somebody I've been high on. I think WWE criminally underused him. We kind of talked about that when we talked about his release. But I was trying to think, well, if he came to Ring of Honor, even for, and they don't do this as much anymore, but for a weekend or a couple of weekends, like they used to do with kind of big stars, who would be the dream matches I'd want to see Buddy Murphy versus? And it used to be that I could very easily pick off 3 or 4 people on the roster. Like, I want to see him against him. I want to see him against him. I want to see him against him. And now I'm like, oh, Buddy Murphy Bandito would be cool. Buddy Murphy Dragon Lee would be. It's going to be the same 3 or 4 guys though. It's going to be Bandito, Dragon Lee, Roosh, Gresham could be interesting. Jonathan Gresham. So anyways, it's hard to put it up there with those top shows, but it was a good show. I don't mind that I spent 4 hours watching that show at all. I agree with you. They could have shifted some things around. I think you could have cut a match or 2 too. Not everything has to go on your pay-per-view. Neither of Flamita Horace probably belonged somewhere. PCO Danhausen and the Bouncers, that could have been a TV match. You didn't need that on their pay-per-view. And so you could have slid the Briscoes and PJ Black maybe, and Brian Johnson to the hour 1 and free up a little bit more room in the pay-per-view. That would be the match to me most likely. Jonathan Gresham is kind of the guy right now for me. I like Gresham. It's funny. When Gresham gets announced for matches, I'm never like, ooh, but I know I'm going to like it in the end. But Gresham is the guy. They always talked about Ric Flair. He could have a 5-star match with a broomstick. Jonathan Gresham could wrestle a broomstick right now, and it would be really, really good. He made me care about Dak Draper more than I've ever cared about Dak Draper, and I want to like Dak Draper. I don't know what it is about Draper. He's got kind of an it presence for me. I don't know if it's the right word because that's a high bar when you say someone has it. I don't know if Draper has it, but he's got a presence. There's something about Draper I want to like. Maybe it's the fact that he wrestled in college here in Nebraska and he was on my trivia team for Ring of Honor trivia once. Maybe that's what it is. But he made me care about Draper more than I ever have before or since. He made me care about Mike Bennett more than I ever have cared about Mike Bennett on Sunday. Now we'll see whether I continue to care about Mike Bennett that much. But for that match on Sunday, there were moments that I believed he was going to win the pure title. And you and I both talked about there was no way he was going to win the pure title. And I still knew he wasn't going to win the pure title, but I believed he could. And I believed it might happen. So kudos, putting together a match. When you can make me believe the thing that I know won't happen will happen, you've done something well. Gresham was great. I thought Brody King, I agree with you, I guess I felt he was a little more dominant maybe than you did. I mean, it was competitive, but I did think he mauled him pretty good. But I think he needed to. I think that was needed. Again, you got to beat somebody who means something. And Jay Lethal means something in Ring of Honor. They have not beaten him to the point of him not meaning anything by any means.
And I look at Brody King as like just this massive mound of humanity, right? So like I expect him to like have an aura and a presence in the ring with whomever he's in the ring with. Now, granted, if it was Bronson Reed, which is not going to happen, or if they bring in Killian Dane under his whatever his name is, then I could see it being a different thing. Yeah, so I don't know that. So, and not to undersell like the dominance that was there, but because of his size and his aura, that's what he does.
Brody King should be a problem that you have to overcome.
That's it.
And,
yeah. Yeah.
And I think he is. And right now for the foundation, he's a problem. For LFI, Roosh is a pretty big boy. So Roosh, Brody King, Brody's bigger, but that's a little more even than anybody in the foundation, certainly, because nobody in the foundation has size to them. Let's just call a spade there. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see eventually, is it Gresham who, because Gresham can beat everybody, who takes down Brody King or how does that play out? I think it's going to be interesting to see. I thought the fight without honor was fine, but it didn't feel like a fight without honor. And I think part of that is because it was too early for a fight without honor. You and I talked about that in the preview of the show. It was fine. It accomplished what it needed to. I agree with you. It felt rushed. I wonder if that A was timing and B was also Gresham had already worked a pretty long match with Bennett.
Well, and again, do we know if Jay Lethal was actually hurt? Because that was the storyline they tried to tell us that, Rhett and Tracy come out and they're like, oh, we need you, Jonathan. And he's like, oh, okay. And then like you get one match break, and that's how they tried to sell it. And then you're there. So like we talked about Gresham going heel, right? But now this looks like if Jay Lethal wasn't hurt, maybe right. Not, could he be the one going heel? Like who? Because to me, it's Jonathan Gresham going, the foundation means everything to me. Pure wrestling and the art of wrestling means everything. So he did step into that spot. I mean, I'm reading between the lines and I'm kind of like adding to the story that they may or may not tell. But that's kind of how it worked for me. And let me be really clear. Not a happy camper that Jonathan Gresham took the pinfall. There's no reason.
I'm cool with that.
Okay. See, I'm not.
And I'm only okay with it because he had the hard-fought match with Bennett. So Gresham gave all he had, and in the end, in the second match, which was a fight without honor, to be fair. So it wasn't even, it's not his specialty, I guess, whatever that means. But it's also, he's been through this war with Bennett, and now he's getting put through tables and beat up with chairs and whatever all, and I'd have to go back and remember more about the match to know exactly what he got hit with or didn't get hit with. But I was okay with it. I certainly think you could have just pinned Rhett, and that would have made more sense. But I think then there may have been people on the other side that said, oh, we're always got to protect Jonathan Gresham. Gresham can't take the fall. Titus always has to take the pin. So I feel like there are going to be arguments either way on that. And let me be the first to say, I knew in my heart of hearts that they might. So I knew that they might. That sounds really strong, doesn't it? I had a feeling that they might do a Ring of Honor title switch to pop the fans and really kind of send them off. And they kind of did a reset a little bit here. I mean, three of the titles of the four titles that were defended changed hands. We have new tag champs. We got a new TV champ. We got new world champ. Now, granted, The new TV champ is kind of same as the old TV champ. I mean, he's been there before. But the new tag champs, had Homicide ever been Ring of Honor tag team champion? I didn't think so.
No.
And Dickinson, obviously, first title in Ring of Honor. And obviously Bandito, his first singles title in Ring of Honor. He had the 6-man title. But so new faces there. I think I thought they might do it, but I just didn't have the guts to pull the trigger, which is a little too bad. We'll talk about that when we talk about head-to-head in a little bit. You guys, anybody who's been listening to this podcast for any length of time knows I've been a fan of Bandito since day one, since he came into Ring of Honor, since before he came into Ring of Honor. I was excited they signed him. I'm excited he stayed there. I thought he should have been in the title picture. They've done an iffy job booking with him to get him to the title picture. That's a fair critique. But he got there and had a hell of a match, excuse my French, with Rush. I don't think Rush loses anything. The only thing, and I think you may have mentioned this, Tom, online, so I apologize for stealing your words if you were the one I saw who said this, but I totally agreed with whoever I read that said it. It would have been nice to give him a little more time to celebrate, and I know they were probably running out of satellite time because the pay-per-view on Honor Club is exactly 3 hours long, to the minute. So they probably were running out of satellite time on the pay-per-view because it wasn't only on Honor Club. WWE can run their thing as long as they want because, well, yes, they still sell it on pay-per-view. 6 people buy it on pay-per-view, and everybody's watching it on Peacock or the WWE network in any country outside of the U.S. Ring of Honor was on regular pay-per-view along with Honor Club and Fight, all of that. So I understand why it got rushed. I guess I just didn't need LFI to get their heat back that night even. Have them just stand there and look dejected and they're yelling at each other and they're whatever, and then we go off with Bandito holding the title up or Kerry Silk and putting the title around, his waist or something like that. And so I didn't think they needed to do that, or they didn't need to do it that early. But okay. And now I like that they're calling him the most wanted champion. Instead of the most wanted, now he's the most wanted champion and he's got a target on his back. And he gets his first Ring of Honor title defense against my boy, Flip Gordon, in the middle of August. Okay, here's my only thing. If, and this is conspiracy theory, Jim going into conspiracy theory, Flip Gordon land. If the reason they had EC3 beat Flip Gordon, which made 0 sense to me, and made 0 sense to you, I know too, Tom. If the reason they had EC3 beat Flip Gordon is because they're going to hot shot the title to Flip Gordon in Philadelphia, and EC3 is now a viable contender because he beat Flip at Best in the World, I may stop watching Ring of Honor.
You'll still be watching. That's not going to happen.
I know it's not, but I for a quick second, and honestly, until Bandito won the title, I was a little worried that Rush was going to hang on to it, and then Flip was going to beat Rush and Philly, and that it would set up EC3 as a viable. As soon as Bandito won, I thought, Bandito's not somebody you can hotshot it on and off real quick. PCO you could do that with back when he was, because PCO is just kind of PCO. I don't like hot-shotting the world title, but if you did it with somebody like Jay Lethal, I don't think it would hurt him. Honestly, if you did it with Rush at this point, I don't think it would hurt him. Bandito, you can't do that. Bandito needs to have a good run here. So I'm glad to hear you say you don't think that's what they're doing either, because Flip Gordon.
In the first 90 seconds of that match, with how Rush came out hot, and then he doesn't put him away. His cockiness prevails. Did you say to yourself in your mind, Bandito's winning tonight?
I certainly thought there was a much better chance in that moment.
Okay. Yeah. I wasn't 100% convinced.
Right.
But I go, either he's going to win the belt or there's going to be a lot of heat on Rush at the end of the night. So
at that point, I knew he had the mountain to overcome now. And I knew that he either was going to win the belt or it was going to be, and I think they did this too, in the middle of it, it was going to be Bandito has him pinned and the ref is knocked out or whatever, and they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the ref comes in and 1, 2. They did give Rush an out though, which I don't know that I love, to be perfectly honest, because Rush did kick out right at 3 on the 3 count. They didn't seem to play it up, although they had 20 seconds left on the air at that point. I don't know if that's going to become a storyline point or not moving forward. It's kind of like the whole Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey pin a couple of years back at WrestleMania. Not the same thing, but it could or it could not become a part of the story moving forward. So I guess we'll see how that plays out. I'm excited. I'm not excited for how many hours I'm going to need in my one day off after I come back from the wedding I'm attending in August, because I have that Monday after SummerSlam weekend off, so that I could watch SummerSlam. But I am going to have SummerSlam, Glory by Honor Night 1, Glory by Honor Night 2, and most likely a TakeOver, although they haven't officially announced it yet. But all signs seem to be pointing that way. Is that 24? How many hours do I get? I guess we don't know how long SummerSlam's going to be yet. So, who doggy? I got a lot to watch on that Monday.
You do. You do. I'm going to feel the same way. Heading out on vacation here in the next week.
Yep.
We're going to have a little bit of a gap between this recording and this podcast and the next one. When I get back, I'm going to have the Raw after Money in the Bank, NXT, Fyter Fest Night 2, SmackDown, Ring of Honor. I'm gonna have,
Are you going to have Money in the Bank, or are you able to watch Money in the Bank on Sunday? I couldn't remember when you were leaving.
Yeah, so the goal is to watch Money in the Bank Sunday night for sure. I say for sure, because there's packing. There's packing for a week away that has to happen too. So depending on where that lives, earlier in the day on Sunday and earlier in the day on Saturday will determine my Sunday night.
Gotcha.
It may be one of those things where I'm doing things while Money in the Bank's in the background, which I'm not a fan of, but
it might have to happen.
We'll see. And the thing is, when I'm gone, I'm kind of looking forward to being off the grid, and because it's good for you, good for me. Also, I can stay off social media maybe better, because I'm not going to want to know anything that happens from the 19th of July onward until I come back and kind of be organically immersed in it. So we're jumping ahead. Two things I wanted to ask you.
Yes.
We closed last week and you said you have a hope that Ring of Honor might be awesome. And we ended the podcast and then we did a quick debrief, but we were hustling. I didn't get a chance to clarify your statement at any time. I didn't know what you meant, and I still don't know. So what were you alluding to, and did it happen?
I was alluding to that I hoped we would see Chris Hero.
Okay. Because Chris is awesome. Absolutely.
So I was alluding to Chris Hero, which there is a report out there, and Joe Koff has confirmed that report, that Chris Hero was backstage at Best in the World and was acting as an agent and a producer for Ring of Honor. Does that mean we will see Chris Hero in the ring for Ring of Honor? I think that's still to be told. I hope so, because you and I are both big Chris Hero fans. We've both been big Chris Hero fans for a long time. I was not a huge Hero fan when he first came to Ring of Honor. I hadn't seen a lot of him. I knew of him, hadn't seen a lot of him. He won me over pretty quick in that CZW war, and then obviously the Kings of Wrestling thing and all of that. I think he was, how many times do we say this about somebody, criminally underused in WWE. I think he would have been a great coach player in NXT or NXT UK, to be able to teach and work in the ring and help elevate people. I'm not saying you had to make him your NXT champ, but I think he had a lot to offer. And so I'm excited to see him there. So yes, I could tell by the look on your face that you weren't quite following what I was saying, but I didn't know if I wanted to go any further than that at that point. Leave a cliffhanger, I guess. So yes, I hoped ROH would be awesome. So we should talk really quickly too. The surprise was Chelsea Green. She gets announced for the women's division, not for the women's tournament though. The interesting thing is she said she's got a month before her cast comes off. Here's the thing. I listened to her podcast. She was cleared 3 weeks ago. So the only bad part is she has a podcast where she told everybody she's been cleared for 3 weeks. And then she's got a cast on saying that's the problem is her no compete ran until today or tomorrow, I think it is. So she probably couldn't have competed, even though it wouldn't air until after the non-compete. My guess is that's part of why they played up. She did have a broken arm, absolutely. That was only cleared a couple of weeks back. And maybe she's not quite in ring shape yet. Well, she's cleared for contact. She might not be ready to roll, in matches. So I think she'll be an interesting bystander to watch through the tournament and then see where that goes. I'm excited for this tournament, and I'm so excited to hear it's going to be on Ring of Honor television and not on YouTube. I think that's going to help them give the women the spotlight, and I think we're going to have some breakout stars throughout this tournament. I'm really excited to see who it is. And I fully expect Quinn McKay to beat Mandy Leon this weekend on Ring of Honor TV and get that last spot in the tournament.
I thought I had on that note is I wonder if they go to a draw or something inconclusive on TV this weekend, and then they rematch in the tournament because Mandy's in the tournament right now, and then that spot is X'd out because it was Vita Von Star.
Vita Von Star. So
they may run it back. I wonder.
I think they are, because I think that's where Quinn goes. And I did think it was interesting that Mandy was there, and I was like, well, that's a little bit weird. I probably would have put her somewhere else. But there are a number of really, really talented women in that I know, and a number of other women that I've heard some things about that I just don't know a lot about. So I am super excited to watch that. I am also really happy to see, and we can wrap up Ring of Honor here in a minute, but on Monday, of course, there's the Fight TV showing of Ring of Honor television. But earlier in the day, I think in the morning when I got up, the Ring of Honor television from the weekend was available on Honor Club already. So I was able, where I thought I was going to have to wait till 6 o'clock to watch Ring of Honor television because I did want to see the show from last weekend. I didn't have to wait. I was able to watch it on Monday. So maybe I'll be able to get up on Monday mornings before I go to work and watch me some Ring of Honor television, which would be nice. Since I don't have I have a local channel that gets it, but I don't have antenna ears to get it. And the odds of me being available at 10 o'clock on Saturday night or whatever time it's on aren't great. So,
yeah, comment on the women's tournament for me is, this to a much smaller scale and for a much different reason. This could, be kind of what the Mae Young Classic was a few years back, right? New exposure to some talents that, you may have heard of before, but you may not have seen. So that would be awesome to have some stars and some names come out of this. And even if it doesn't materialize for them in Ring of Honor, the wrestling landscape now is starting to open up more. So if they don't get a foothold here, somewhere else is possible. Look at Wheeler Yuta as a good example from Ring of Honor and to what he's doing in AEW now. And then the other thing I'll just say is, we talk about Brody King's elevation or growth, and then you name Chris Hero. That would be a match that I'd love to see.
Man.
That would, and how could they mention Dana a minute ago as a kind of, a match size. Hero would do that as well. So, and if Chris Hero comes in, I could see him wanting to give talent the rub or a rub. So
anything else about Ring of Honor, Tom? I think we've
a tremendous value for $9.99 to renew an Honor Club subscription, because mine was inactive because there was nothing that they were doing that was making me want to spend my money. But this show alone was worth that. Not a bad way to spend $10. And they're going to continue to get my money, even though it's going to renew before Glory by Honor. In that next month segment, it'll be 2 Glory by Honors plus Death Before Dishonor. So that'll be pretty sweet.
I was going to say, kudos to them for scheduling Glory by Honor more than a month past Best in the World, so that those of us who did sign up for Best in the World almost we don't have to, but if we want to watch Glory by Honor, we got to pay for a whole nother month. So good scheduling on their part, frankly.
The one negative about Death Before Dishonor is I'm pretty sure that's the first Sunday of the NFL season.
It's the 12th of September, right?
Yeah.
It is the first Sunday of the NFL season. It is also the Sunday directly before my wedding anniversary and my wife's birthday. So, and I have trivia that night, and the Bears are on Sunday Night Football. So yeah, when we get to September, it's going to be a show. But
it's a roulette wheel for what you get to do.
It is. Thankfully, we celebrate the next weekend. So my hope is trivia and then come home, watch Bear game, but we'll see. The Bears game on Sunday night will absolutely win out for me over Ring of Honor's Death Before Dishonor. There's just no way. Anyways, enough about football. Maybe we should do a football podcast at the end of August too, Tom. Maybe that should happen. A little special edition of Two Spot Monkeys.
I agree.
2 Iron Monkeys. Well, let's talk briefly AEW. We're recording this, as I said, on Wednesday night. Tom has seen AEW from this evening. I have seen absolutely nothing from AEW. I've not seen anything on social media. I'm very happy about that. Hoping to watch some of it, maybe even after I record tonight, depending, and also in the morning, but before I go to work, hopefully. But Malachi Black makes his debut last week in a move that I don't think shocked anybody that he ended up in AEW, but nobody thought he was going to get there this quick. I loved that they did the blackout segment during the Cody Rhodes match and just played it off like it was electrical problems. I didn't think a thing about it, to be perfectly honest. I didn't think, oh, they're foreshadowing something. Didn't think a thing. And then they went off when Arn Anderson was there, and I was like, okay, now I know something's up, but I didn't expect Malachi Black. I unfortunately did know before I saw that segment that Malachi Black showed up in AEW because I didn't stay off Facebook. But all I saw was his face, and it says something about AEW, and I was like, oh, crap, Tommy End showed up in AEW. No idea that he was called Malachi Black. No idea what he had done either, so I was not expecting, even when those lights went out, I didn't go, oh, here's where it is. Because I figured he'd show up at the end of the show, and they go, who is this guy? Why is he here? Of course, who is this guy? And then the other guy goes, that's Malachi Black. Excalibur. Oh, Excalibur. Who, by the way, Jim Ross called Mark last week by his real name. But
how do you call him Mark? That's so funny.
At the beginning of it, it's actually Excalibur's real first name. And I had to look it up because I couldn't believe that he said, sorry, he talked over Excalibur at one point on the show. And he goes, oh, sorry, Mark. And I was like, look, I'm going to say this the nicest way I can. And I know people get really defensive about it. Jim Ross is the voice of my teen and young adult years in pro wrestling. Jim Ross is probably the best play-by-play guy that's ever called wrestling. Gordon Soley, Lance Russell, they were before my time, so I'm biased. I'm always going to be partial to Gorilla Monsoon and Bobby Heenan as a team over even Jim Ross and Jerry Lawler, but Jim Ross, best play-by-play guy I probably ever heard. Ryan Sandberg is my favorite baseball player of all time. I don't want Ryan Sandberg playing second base for the Cubs this year. I'm ready for Jim Ross to retire. I just, it's not there anymore. I'm sorry. But anyways, that's just my aside on Jim Ross. I think Excalibur is the best announcer they have on that squad by far. And I think if you had Excalibur and Taz, it'd be awesome. Shivani's fine, but I think Excalibur and Taz would be a great duo. That's not what we're talking about, though. We're talking about Malachi Black. So I was stunned.
And it appears that they're calling him both Tommy End and Malachi Black.
Okay.
And there was something I saw, and I don't know if this was planted or if this was read between the lines, because Tommy End Malachi Black was doing some social media where one is the vessel and the other is the entity, right? Okay. So Malachi Black is and I'm gonna screw it up, right? But one is the aura. One of the names is the aura of the action, and then the other the other physical body and the way it interacts is the delivery of that. So we'll see if that continues. I don't know, but that's interesting for me. And I laughed out loud when he debuted, and it was Cody right off the bat, because we've talked numerous times that when a new guy typically tends to come in, that he gets Cody right off the bat. It's almost like he's the gatekeeper of sorts.
He's the welcome committee for AEW.
Yeah. This though feels different and felt different last week. So I'm really eager to see where this goes from here. AEW is flush with talent. With talent.
Goodness. And our good friend Annette is watching along with us this evening and said he needs to go and then put an emoji of a guy with a cowboy hat. So I think I know who she means by that. And I don't think it's Cody or Malachi Black.
And I know what else, anything else on Malachi Black? Because there's another thing about last week's Road Rager that I wanted to touch on with you.
Just that I'm looking, I think for All Out, I think we're getting Malachi Black versus Cody. I think that's obviously where we're headed. Obviously I haven't seen the show tonight, what more we get out of that, but I'm looking forward to that. Cody knows how to do big matches, and Malachi Black, again, criminally underused. I say it all the time, but I said back when they released him a month ago that I think he and Buddy Murphy are going to be the breakouts from that release group, and I still believe that, and I think Black landed in the absolute right spot. As much as I hope he can go through that forbidden door, I'd like to see a little bit of Malachi Black or Tommy End in New Japan. I think there's some matches there that could be really, really fun to watch. As things open up, people can travel more. We'll see. But I'm looking forward. There's a lot of things, both fresh, and I got to admit, down the road, no time soon, I'm looking forward to seeing Malachi Black and Andrade in an AEW ring with no constraints on them. Now, we saw it in NXT, and it's pretty darn good. I think we can go to another level. So I'm looking forward to that a lot.
Good segue, because what I wanted to talk about was Andrade El Idolo.
That's so hard to say. It's not a good name.
And his in-ring debut, which I thought fell short of a strong debut. Wasn't bad in the ring, but and I don't know who to point the finger at there. Is it him? Is it Seidel? Is it both of them? Something just didn't get me jazzed up, and I really wanted that.
I thought they gave Seidel a little too much. Look, Matt Seidel isn't somebody you're building around at this point. He's fine, but he's not what he once was. I don't know that he carries as much name value as maybe AEW thinks he does, to be perfectly honest. But they gave him a little too much, but yet I also thought Andrade attacking him afterwards and like tying his arm up with the belt and whatever, it kind of came out of left field, because it wasn't like Seidel had almost beaten him 3 times, and so he was going to show him he was the better guy or whatever. Like, it did feel a little bit weird. I thought he looked good, but there's definitely more to Andrade to come in AEW, and I agree, it wasn't quite the holy wow moment that I might have expected from Andrade's debut. I almost wonder if it would have been better, instead of having him with Seidel, just have him kill Dante Martin or something. I mean, somebody, who can take the loss, because right now they're not building around them, but who could have, I don't know, maybe bumped a little better for him than Seidel did. I don't know. Maybe that's what it was. I see what you're saying, though. But as a big Andrade fan, I was just glad to see him get in the ring. So
that's fair.
And Andrade, unfortunately, they can't stream it in the U.S. because of some sort of lawsuit between AAA and the former Lucha Underground and whoever owned that and all of those kinds of things. But Andrade is wrestling Kenny Omega at AAA's Triple Mania here coming up in August, which I would really love to see that match. And I'm sure it will be available at some point for us to see here, whether by hook or crook in the U.S. But that's a match that I think could be really, really fun to watch in that setting, with a 6-sided ring and all of those kinds of things, and Kenny and Andrade both with a lot of experience there. I'm interested to see if there's any follow-up tonight, and don't tell me if there is or isn't, Tom, but I'm interested to see how tonight follows up for both Andrade and Malachi Black, among all of the things they have scheduled for tonight as well. So AEW is, they're smoking on all cylinders right now, no question.
Yeah, last week's show, so Road Rager for me seemed like a buffet with so many options, and then you just couldn't help but like overeat. And then at the end you were like, oh my gosh, I'm really, really full. Not sure how I feel about this. I feel good, but I also don't feel good. That's the way I left last week's episode. Okay. I didn't leave tonight's that way at all. I left tonight's thinking this is a buffet. I'm getting enough of everything that I want, and I can't wait for more. That's all I'll say. So I hope that piques your interest to watch.
It has. I look forward to seeing what you're talking about, and then talking with you offline about it, or well, online, but offline from this podcast anyways. Well, let's go to another show that I think has been hitting on most cylinders, if not all cylinders lately, and that's NXT. I think their last couple of weeks, really since TakeOver, we kind of talked about this last week and 2 weeks ago, maybe a little. Last week, not so much because we did Best in the World, but I know we did squirrel off into a couple other topics for a moment here and there. I think it's been good stuff. I thought another strong show. Cameron Grimes, my goodness. Ever since the whole money came into his life with Bitcoin and Dogcoin, or what, Doggy Coin, or whatever in the world it is, he has just been on fire on the mic. On fire. And I thought his sketches last night, I know they're probably not for everybody, but I love the fact that he's playing the butler, but he's still getting one up on LA Knight just about every time. And he doesn't care about having to do the work, and he doesn't care about this. He's going to hire probably wasn't the best idea to hire a Hispanic kid. There was just a bit of me that was like, oh, that's typecasting that I don't know we need in 2021. But maybe that went past a lot of people. Maybe it wasn't a big deal. I don't know. Cameron Grimes, man, to the moon, or to the broom, as he said last night, which I thought was pretty great.
So good. Yeah, the momentum that NXT has should not be lost on how well AEW is doing. And it's great that, again, we're so fortunate that we don't have to pick to watch one on a given night, that they're back-to-back nights. So even if you're not watching them live, I think you can watch them successively without competing with them. So that's been great. And yeah, this week, and I think a number of things were good, and storyline developments continue to happen. Some awkward and some not. Again, a week ago, I think it was a week ago, out of the blue, Shotzi, the former Shotzi Blackheart, now known just as Shotzi, and Knox, formerly known as Tegan Knox, who made her amazing return to
3 days before
to rekindle something with Candice LeRae. Shows up. They both showed up on SmackDown, and that's kind of where they seem to be headed. So again, talk about what this isn't a knock on NXT, because I think it's more of a WWE thing and it's a Vince McMahon thing. Because at the end of the day, he's the head of the table. No disrespect to Roman Reigns. The right hand doesn't know what the left hand is doing, or if they do, like the writers, I would, as much as I think I would want to be a writer for WWE, because that would be like a dream job to be part of creative. I also probably think that I would not last long, because
you'd get fired real fast, Tom.
I'd either get fired or I would just go, this is the definition of insanity. If I'm trying to create a storyline that wants to draw people in, and then I get talent taken from me out of the blue, what in the heck? So,
well, and look at it again here. Mandy Rose was on Raw on Monday night, seemingly setting up some sort of another tag title shot. I feel like they've had 100 of them for her and Dana Brooke. And then all of a sudden now Tuesday, she's on NXT. And apparently going to be involved somehow, maybe with the Robert Stone / Frankie Monet brand. That's an interesting development there too. Maybe not. I don't know. Like, obviously they were teasing things and wanting us to tune in to see more of that. I'm fine with that. But there again, and they didn't even, okay, if you're going to do that, then beat her up on Monday night, pin her, do something, send her off.
Well, that's the biggest missed opportunity I think that exists, right? Like, so if you're going to move talent from one brand to another, and they don't trust their audience enough to know that they watch everything. I mean, and maybe you and I are the only two. I know we're not, but that's the joke I bring up a lot of times. Use a talent to get someone over, like this whole Saray Tony Storm thing. Clearly, that's the path they were headed on, and Tony Storm's headed to SmackDown. So that Saray match didn't happen. It gave us an awesome Gigi Dolan versus Saray match last night, and they tried to tie that up with a storyline. Nonetheless, like, you could have boosted Saray in a different way. She still looked strong against Gigi, nonetheless.
And you still could have had that match. There's no reason Tony Storm going to SmackDown. Look, if you do Saray Tony Storm now, everybody knows Saray's going over because Tony Storm's going to SmackDown. I get maybe you don't want to do that because you don't want Tony to lose right before she's going to debut on SmackDown. But yet other things you do, like you said, Tom, seem to make you think that they don't believe that everybody watches everything or anybody watches everything. So then it wouldn't matter if you have her lose on NXT, because clearly there's somebody in the writing team that doesn't think anybody's watching NXT. NXT, by the way, had their biggest viewership in quite a while last Tuesday night. So good job to NXT for that. Kudos on that. Raw had its second or third lowest rating ever last week. So,
well, I don't know. And I think a lot can be said because of the momentum. Again, even though we're shining a critical light that's kind of shading into NXT territory, it's not about NXT per se. It's about the larger entity of WWE. But this past Tuesday, Karrion Kross, Johnny Gargano, awesome. Could have easily pulled the trigger on a title change there. I'm more invested now in Karrion Kross than I was a week ago. This mini feud between the two of them has been some of the best stuff, and it's definitely boosted Kross. If you would have told me that Johnny Gargano would have been the guy to bring Karrion Kross up a notch, I would have said that makes sense. But I would have been like, wouldn't they want other guys to do it too? Because Gargano has been part of the way, which was trending heel, and I would say that maybe he's still going to be heel, even though even though Candice is truly the most evil one in that group. That was a great match. I thought Gargano was going to win the belt a few times. Going back to your statement that you made about Rush and Bandito, I had those same vibes with Gargano and Kross than I did with Rush and Bandito. So, and then the end of the day is you got Samoa Joe interacting with all these guys, and Cross,
And
Pete Dunne, and Adam Cole. They're gonna have to give us something.
Joe's got to be cleared. I know that other people have said he's not, but if you're doing all this and he isn't cleared, you're out of your flipping mind. Especially the way you had Cross choke him out last night. That's provocation. Joe's been provoked. Joe's going to be one angry man on Tuesday nights. The thing I love about pro wrestling is that happened on Tuesday night, and Joe's not going to do a thing about it the rest of the week until next Tuesday night when the cameras are on. It's the thing I've always loved about pro wrestling. I'm so mad at you because you attack me that I'm going to do nothing about it for 7 days until they turn a camera back on, and then I'm coming for you, Tom. But you got to suspend disbelief, right? No, the Cross's attack on Joe was great because Joe had kind of made Cross look like his B word until then, which I don't know that you need your champ doing that. But the fact that they turned it back around and like, okay, now Cross struck when he had the opportunity. That's pretty cool. Interesting too, because I think you and I both kind of expected Gargano maybe to win that title, because it seems like Cross is probably headed to the main roster. Maybe he's not, though. I mean, things change depending on the way the wind blows in the moment in Vince's office. So
they chose Tony Storm instead.
They might have, and Aaliyah, apparently. I don't know if Aaliyah's ready, but maybe the fact that she hasn't been super featured on NXT will help her, though, because half of the time people that go up to the main roster that have been featured on NXT get used terribly. So maybe the fact that she really hasn't been used, I don't know, maybe that can help her. It seems like I'd read a report today that it's kind of a, whether they'll ever announce it or not, it's kind of a Mandy Rose for Aaliyah kind of trade, which doesn't feel even to me. But anyways, not that Mandy Rose is, Becky Lynch, but really, she can only get Aaliyah in return for Mandy Rose. I don't know. Seems a little much, or a little light on the return. But NXT has been super, super enjoyable. I look forward to catching it. It goes by real fast when I watch it. I always have to watch it afterwards because, again, Tuesdays and Wednesdays I'm booked. But I watched it this morning, and that 2 hours or hour and 40, because I'm able to fast forward through commercials, just flies by. So great match. And it seems like we're going to Adam Cole, Kyle O'Reilly 3. Somebody brought up, I think it was Cole and Gargano had a 3 Stages of Hell match a number of years back. That would be a great and fitting finale to Cole and O'Reilly, which I'm okay with that. Give me one more Cole and O'Reilly and then let them move on to other things. I think Adam Cole should go to the main roster, except I think they'll put him in the Cruiserweight division and forget about him. Oh, wait, that's an NXT. Never mind. And 205 Live, which is now 405 Live with Odyssey Jones. I don't know. All right. Should we talk head-to-head, Tom?
Yeah, let's do that.
Head-to-head. Well,
and I say that because once again, we find ourselves in similar status.
This is the song that never ends. Yes. Back to where we all began. 11 matches. I guess we both can take the win on the tag match anyways, because we had the winners right anyways, and people change, so we normally would just count that as a win, but we had the winners anyways. So Tom went 8-3. I went 7-4. Obviously, the difference was that PCO and Danhausen versus the Bouncers match. Tom made really good points. Had I picked after Tom, I would have picked PCO and Danhausen because he made such good points. So I'm not surprised at all that I'm a match behind. I'm a little surprised. We talked about before, we don't have to recap really here, but we both missed the Flip Gordon match in EC3. We both missed the Ray Horace and Demonic Flamita match. And of course, we both missed Rush and Bandito. I'm not as surprised that we both missed that one. We both talked about that could happen in that one. I think we both had pretty high confidence on EC3 and Flamita, though. So,
well, and considering who the champion is now, you would think that Flamita and Flip being strong with wins sets them up as contenders. It doesn't mean they can't be, but now more work has to be done because they aren't winning. They didn't win right now.
Right. And coincidentally, I'll just say this real quick. I meant to talk about it in the recap, but I did email myself. I looked at the rankings out on week by week and then emailed them to myself quickly. So for Bandito, the top contenders, the top 5, remember, anybody in the top 3 can get a world title shot. The top 5 are Roosh, Brody King, Flip Gordon. So they're the 3 who can challenge for the title. That makes total sense. EC3 and Matt Taven. EC3 not being above Flip Gordon is a little bit weird when he just beat him, but Flip was the number 2 contender, I think, before. So he drops a spot, I believe. The TV title for Dragon Lee, Deppen, Eli Isom, and Ray Horace are the 3 who can challenge him. And then Flamita and Castle are 4 and 5. For the Pure title, Josh Woods, Fred Titus. Yeah, Rhett Titus, Fred Yehai, there we go, are the 3 who can challenge. And then number 4 and 5 are LSG and the world famous CB. We got to do something to build that division a little bit more, people. We have 4 people in that division, really. You have the Pure champion and 3 contenders, and then you threw LSG and CB in there.
And LSG won a match and chose his spot there, and that storyline has literally hibernated since that time.
Yes, 100% it is. And the tag champs, Dickinson and Homicide, their top contenders are obviously Williams and Titus, Kenny King and Dragon Lee, Jay Lethal and John Gresham are the number 3, and then the Briscoes and PCO and Danhausen. So
the only part about that I'm not a fan of is the Briscoes being 4 already.
Yeah,
because the story was they have to go from the bottom and work their way up. So they won on TV last week. They won at the pay-per-view against
they beat 2 unranked teams.
Yeah, they beat 2 unranked teams. So you really should have them be having to compete before they're even cracking the 5th spot.
Shouldn't they beat PCO and Danhausen before they get ahead of them?
You'd think. Yeah.
But anyway, before we go to Ring of Honor.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought up the rankings, because I had a thought when I was just thinking of Ring of Honor and preparing for this podcast. I don't know how difficult it is with post-production and other things and how they do the tapings. I'd like to see the rankings be more part of the TV show. And we've talked about it before, but having watched week by week this week, and when they did put that spotlight, it was fun to see them. So yeah, when I saw those guys and the teams, it was like cool. Now I kind of have one more thing to invest in when I watch upcoming TV. You have to find a better way to integrate those into the TV show or to the matches with talents that are ranked. Again, case in point, AEW, a guy comes out and he's ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5, or a gal is ranked 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5. Their number is next to their name placard, whatever, when they come out. It's an easy thing, I think, or it should be an easy thing. And the fact that you're not executing, to me, comes across as lazy. 2 more things on Ring of Honor. So I'm sorry to jump back, but I wanted to mention and ask you, did you see the graphic of Bandito, Caprice Coleman, and Ian Riccaboni doing the floss? And not that I care about if you saw them floss or not. It was that in the background on the screen from the tapings, they had a Champions versus All-Stars.
Yes.
Okay. So that's kind of cool. I'm looking forward to what comes out of that. That being said, are they just going to give us World TV tag, World TV Pure 1 tag? So where do the 6-man guys fall? So I'm just, and then depending on how many guys, if it's 3, 4, 5 or more, who are the other 5 on the other side of the coin?
I would think you'd go 5. Unfortunately, the 6-man get left out of that. But I would think you go bring World Pure TV and tag, because you also get LFI, Violence Unlimited, and the Foundation all in there, plus Bandito. So I think you've got storyline there. Who the other ones are, you and I could fantasy book that to death. But
and then the other thing, you had mentioned your wish of potentially Chris Hero showing up. We got Chelsea Green. The other guy that I thought in the back of my head when I was watching the show Sunday night that I was hoping would make an appearance was Mark Haskins. And because I just feel like that travel from Europe to the United States isn't as restricted as it had been before. And it seemed like it would have been the right time to bring him back, especially with Bandito winning. Because going back to a match they taped when the pandemic started and they were in Vegas last year, Haskins beat Bandito, and that was actually one of the first matches on TV this year. So that would be a built-in challenger. And he has a title shot in his pocket.
And he has a title shot, right?
So,
yeah, I'm hoping. And Koff in the interview that I heard with him last week said he expects the UK and Europe guys to be and gals to be the first ones to come back. Australia, they're talking about 2022 before they're going to be able to do travel. So that means like Slex and I believe Kellyanne is from Australia as well. Might be next year, which really sucks, but it's the world we live in right now. So hopefully Haskins, Joe Hendry, Session Moth Martina, and folks like that can get back over here. They'd be great surprises at Glory by Honor at this point, if nothing else. So, well, let's talk about our next head-to-head, Tom. We have 6 matches to pick, and something tells me some of these are going to go quick. I say that, and then we're going to go Broadway again on these. But it is Money in the Bank weekend coming up this weekend. The first pay-per-view in front of fans, not counting WrestleMania, in quite a long time. Obviously, WrestleMania had fans, but then they went back to the Thunderdome. The Thunderdome is done. As of now, Friday night, SmackDown will be in front of fans. Moving forward, we're in front of fans. So Money in the Bank, head-to-head. Tom, again, has that one-match lead because, hey, why not? That's what we do here at Two Spot Monkeys. I get my tail kicked in head-to-head. I think it's going to be interesting to see our picks on these. I think a number of these we're going to pick the same probably. Maybe we'll go 6 for 6. I don't know. Maybe it won't matter. We'll be one match apart even at the end of this. But let's just see. So I'm trailing. So I guess that means, as usual, I get to pick the first match.
Yeah, I'm nervous. I'm nervous entering these picks. So I want to be, and that's an honest statement. Like I really, there's a few of these that are like, okay, yeah, that should be a no-brainer. And if we both pick the same and we both lose, okay, no sweat. Those Money in the Bank matches, we're going to get there in a minute. So,
well, the Raw Tag Team title match, which was originally announced for Raw coming up the night after Money in the Bank, is actually going to be on Money in the Bank. I think it's because they lost the Bianca Belair Bayley match. Get well soon, Bayley. What terrible timing for her injury. Awful news last week about that torn ACL. So I think there was some rumor that 9 months meant she was pregnant. She's not pregnant. She tore her ACL. So that's a huge bummer for Bayley and a huge bummer, frankly, for fans because she was awesome through the Thunderdome era. So I'm bummed. I hope that once she has the surgery and starts to heal, they get her back on TV, at least as a character, if she can travel comfortably, since they'll be back on the road. She'd be great in the commentary booth with McAfee and Cole until she's ready to come back. I think she'd be great there, or even, I don't know, a weekly Ding Dong Hello or something. I kind of hate the name of that show, but she's been such a good character that I hope we get to see her. If not, I'll look forward to her return next year. 9 months from right now, you're looking probably WrestleMania or right after Raw after Mania, maybe. So we'll see. Hopefully she heals well. But they lost that match, so I think that's why this one got moved. I hate the Viking Raiders characters. They make them so cartoony and stupid. Stop it. They were a butt-kicking machine. I'm trying not to swear. In Ring of Honor as War Machine, in New Japan as War Machine, even in NXT as the Viking. Well, no, they were the
War Raiders.
War Raiders in NXT. Thank you. But we can't use the word war in WWE. There's another word Vince McMahon wants to use with John Cena, but we can't use the word war. Anyways, I like the Viking Raiders. I like Ray Rowe and Hansen, or Eric and Ivar, whatever you want to call them. I hate their characters because they're stupid. I actually at one point thought maybe they'd put them over and put the tag titles on them. And then I kind of think we're probably headed to RK Bros at SummerSlam getting a tag title shot. That makes some sense to me. But I don't think Viking Raiders versus RK Bros has as much pizzazz. I thought maybe Almost and AJ would break up, but I'm going AJ and Almost on this one just because I don't think they've done anything to make me think that the Viking Raiders have a shot.
Yeah, my pick is the same, and it's for a lot of the same reasons. The Viking Raiders are criminally underused. The fact that they earned this.
We're going to create a Two Spot Monkeys drinking game. And if we say criminally underused, you have to take a drink. And if you're still conscious at the end of the show, we're going to send you a prize.
from the time they earned this shot to how it's being executed, and then just how they're being portrayed, it's goofy. Like it makes you not want to tune in and watch because they're so hokey. And I don't know who you're
Vikings are good-looking guys that women like. Hey, and we wrestle trash monsters. Don't get me started on the trash monster.
Yeah, and even still, like even AJ and Omos, like they're kind of bordering on cringe. Like it's, you know, I'm stealing my kids' verbiage right now. They always say you're cringy. Well, this whole issue is cringy, and AJ and Omos, I get that the deal with them was winning the belts at Mania, but goodness gracious, that was now almost 8 months ago, or 4 months ago, and what have you done? Nothing. And yes, if SummerSlam materializes into the champs having retained here Sunday and getting Randy Orton and Matt Riddle, that'll be a fine match. I don't know what I would pick today, and I don't know what I'll pick that day until I make the pick. It just doesn't seem like right now. And I don't think Vince cares enough about the tag division, and there's evidence of that in the past, that this is just kind of there.
Yeah, it is. I'll tell you right now, I'd put RK Bros over at SummerSlam because the pop from the crowd would be awesome. It'd be worth it for that. Well, Tom, you get the first pick on the Raw Women's title match. Who do you cheer for, Rhea Ripley or Charlotte Flair?
Well, not only who do you cheer for, but like the issue here too has just been really stagnant. Like I want to be excited for this match, and I should be, but when I think about the build for these two heading into last year's WrestleMania and then what's happening now, like that's a great like footprint for how poorly this product has evolved or devolved, for lack of a better term. With Bayley going out, it makes me really wonder where things are headed with the women's division across both brands, because I thought some shakeups were going to happen. Maybe they don't do as much as they were going to do. So the question for me here is, do they keep it on Rhea and do this one more time at SummerSlam because it's in front of a bigger audience? Or do they pull the trigger on Flair because there's a match that they view as being bigger at SummerSlam, Charlotte Flair as the champion? I don't know. I don't have a good sense one way or the other. I was wrong when I picked on these two last month. I fear I'm going to be wrong picking here. I am going to pick Charlotte Flair because I do think that they're not behind Rhea like they should be. They've definitely not done well with her since she dethroned Asuka at WrestleMania. Again, I could say it sounds like I'm a broken record. I said the same thing about the tag titles and the tag champs. Again, you actually have been promoting your women much better than you have been tag team wrestling. So we shouldn't be here and we shouldn't be having this conversation. Yet we are. And Charlotte Flair has been the face of the women's division for so many years. So maybe wrong come Sunday, but Charlotte Flair is my pick to dethrone Rhea, or at least win the match, and then go on to bigger things at SummerSlam, whatever those bigger things might be.
Yeah, I actually just wrote down all of my winners ahead of time right now while you were talking there, Tom, and I wrote down Charlotte Flair as well before you picked. I agree with you. I don't think they're behind Rhea, and I think they're idiots. They're booking her terribly. Who am I supposed to get behind in this match? It should be Rhea, frankly. Rhea, the young upstart who wants to prove she's worthy and she's as good as she says she is. And Charlotte's she's not old, but Charlotte's the old guard, who's had the title 4,000 times and says, nope, this is my thing. And, whatever. The story's not that hard to write, but they refuse to do it. They really want Rhea to be a heel, but yet they want Charlotte to be a heel. And so we have this heel thing that nobody gives a crap about. It's annoying because, like you said, Ripley Flair was such a hot issue at WrestleMania, and then in your house, and then there was injuries and all of those kinds of things. Things changed, whatever. Plans change, pal, as Bruce Pritchard always says on his podcast. I should care about this match, and I don't. But I think Charlotte wins, and I think it's probably Charlotte and Becky. at SummerSlam. That's my assumption. I'd love to see Rhea and Becky. My other fear is, like you said, maybe it's a DQ and we get Rhea, Charlotte, and Becky, because we always got to do a three-way because we can't friggin' make up our mind about the one match we want to do. So we put 3 people into a match. I would love to see Rhea Ripley and Becky Lynch at SummerSlam. I really would. I don't give 2 things about Charlotte Flair and Becky Lynch, to be honest. I'm looking forward to seeing Becky Lynch back. Big Becky Lynch fan, like her. Obviously been gone for a year. Had a baby. Awesome. Kudos. Congrats. Looking forward, if she's ready to come back, and it sounds like she is, I'm looking forward to having her back on the roster. I think that'll help a lot. But, yeah, I think it's Becky and Charlotte at SummerSlam, so I'm going to go Charlotte here. Let's move. We're going to do the title matches first and then end with the Money in the Bank matches. Bobby Lashley versus Kofi Kingston. Kofi, they're trying to tell the story. He had the Kofi Mania and WrestleMania a couple of years ago and all of that. He beat Bobby Lashley a couple of weeks ago. Xavier Woods got a pin on Bobby Lashley this week. I didn't mind that. I've read some things that say, the champ shouldn't have lost going into his title match. It was done as a storyline point, though, to me, to get to what happened at the end of the night. And I loved what I saw. I didn't watch all of Raw, but I have seen some clips. I've seen a little bit of that. I loved how Bobby Lashley ended the night. And I hope they keep going with that. Don't just have him blow up that night and now come out with the ladies on Sunday. Don't do it. But I feel like they could. Butt kicking Bobby Lashley. I was listening to a podcast with Fightful.com this evening on the way home, and somebody chatted to them while they were doing the podcast something about, Bobby should have said, you think Brock Lesnar beat you in no time, wait till you see what I do to you on Sunday. That would have been a great line, actually. And part of me kind of wants Bobby Lashley to kill Kofi Kingston, not kill him, but just mow through Kofi Kingston on Sunday to make him seem like what I think he can be, which is a Brock Lesnar level heel of, oh my gosh, who's going to beat Bobby Lashley? If he has a competitive match with Kofi, I don't know that does that, although in the end, he's competitive, but Bobby Lashley is just too much to overcome. There's a story to be told there too. There's no way Kofi Kingston's winning this title. Kofi Kingston's not going to SummerSlam as the champ. But I think a story can be told here that helps position Bobby Lashley for what he might be doing at SummerSlam. And I'm looking forward to that. So Bobby Lashley's my pick here with super high confidence.
Yeah, I agree. Bobby Lashley's the pick here to retaining the title. It seems like the momentum is not on Kofi's side. I get him challenging for the title. That makes sense. In the long game. But I didn't feel a lot of energy around him coming out of Monday. I do like the renewed passion or anger that is fueling Bobby Lashley to this title match. And yeah, I don't want Kofi to get murdered, but yeah, having Lashley be dominant in 5 minutes would be great.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be 20 seconds like Lesnar was or whatever that was.
Yeah. And you can give Kofi a hope spot or two in that 5 minutes. If it's that, it's probably going to be more, because the destination is whomever shows up on Monday and challenges Lashley for SummerSlam. And I don't know who that's going to be, but I've been trying to stay away from sites with a lot of rumors and a lot of speculation. But I did see a snippet on something where they were like, lots of returns are planned for next week. So I would expect starting on Monday after Money in the Bank, whether it's call-ups from NXT or, oldies but goodies from the past. No disrespect to, Brock Lesnar or potentially John Cena or other guys that may show up. There's a guy named Finn Balor who's been missing for a while too. Anyway, just guys coming back and setting the stage for really marketable matches at SummerSlam. Lashley being strong getting into that, and whomever that might be is where I know they're headed, or I feel that I know that they're headed.
All right, well, Tom, you get the first pick on the Universal title match. Roman Reigns defends against Edge. What are you thinking?
This is scary. Like, I don't want to pick this match. I don't want to be wrong. And I feel like I will be. I feel like it's a hair worse for me than Charlotte Flair and Rhea Ripley. I'm glad that this match is happening, and even though I thought it was premature to bring Edge back without crowds, this has made a lot of sense. And if you would have said to me, well, if it wasn't Edge, who would it be? I'd be like, good question. I have no idea who would be challenging Roman Reigns if Edge did not return. So from that perspective, it makes a lot of sense. And Edge has looked like he's been a man on a mission, and he's been calling back to all of the stuff that went wrong in the WrestleMania match to say, I'm coming for your title. I think, though, it's too early still to remove the belt from Roman Reigns. I think Roman Reigns versus someone, I'm not sure who, again, at SummerSlam is what you want to do with the way Roman Reigns has been built. Unfortunately, just because I feel that way, I think WWE logic goes the opposite way. And I think that they don't necessarily see the same. And maybe they do, maybe they don't. I don't know. They see Edge being the face. And boy, he got old in 4 months real quick. And it's not even 4 months since WrestleMania, but he is looking worse for the wear now, as opposed to his Rumble to WrestleMania run. I don't want to make this pick, but I just don't trust WWE, so I'm going to go with Edge, and that's going to be low confidence when we do our confidence points in our fantasy league. I want Roman to retain, and maybe it's Edge by DQ, and then they do a rematch or some. Maybe they're part of a three-way at SummerSlam. I have no idea. As you can see, I'm stammering on, grasping for straws.
So we have a difference. I'm going Roman. I don't think it's time to take the belt off Roman. I still believe that when they take the belt off Roman, it needs to be to make somebody. And Edge, as he said on Talking Smack last week, has won 31 WWE titles in his career, which is more than anybody. And then he said, I don't know if you saw this clip. He said, which is more than anybody. I'm sorry, I don't count the 24/7 title. And then he went on with what he was saying, which I thought was a great little, because otherwise, R-Truth is the answer to the trivia question of who's won the most titles in WWE history, because he's held the 24/7 title 54 times or something like that. And I'm not even exaggerating. It's in the 50s. That Edge has won 31 WWE titles of, obviously not just the WWE title, but Intercontinental and Tag and all of those kinds of things. He's a made man. He's in the Hall of Fame. He doesn't need this. I think Seth Rollins gets involved here because I think we're headed to Seth Rollins and Edge at SummerSlam. So I think Rollins gets here. Now, the one way that I could see it going your direction is if Edge wins the title and then Seth wins Money in the Bank and Seth cashes in on Edge at SummerSlam. But Seth isn't the kind of character who would tell you when he's cashing in. Seth would absolutely do what Seth Rollins did back at WrestleMania Play Button, 29 or whatever that was.
31.
31. I was on the wrong side of 30. Okay.
Play Button, though. That's a good one because that was in the logo.
Totally giving Fully Posable Wrestling Figure Podcast gets all the credit in the world for that. They were at that show, and that's what they call it. I think it's been a great name. So I totally stole that from the boys of Fully Posable. So all credit to them for WrestleMania Play Button. But it absolutely is the logo, right? Big play button right in the middle. So I don't see that happening. I guess I'm tipping my hand to who I don't think is winning Money in the Bank, although he would be high on my rankings if we ranked all 8 of them. Although last year you and I put Otis at the dead last in our rankings of who was going to win the thing, and he won the whole damn thing. So I think Reigns wins here, though. I think Seth Rollins costs Edge the match, which makes Edge, easy enough for me to say, want to just wipe the floor with Seth Rollins because he took that from Edge. And that's going to be the thing that makes them go forward. So that's what I see happening. Rumors are out there about Roman Reigns, John Cena, maybe. That's an interesting match that I think can sell tickets. So I think Reigns and Cena at SummerSlam would make some sense from a business standpoint, not from a storyline, although they'll tell a story to get there. But then I think they're going to Edge and Randy Orton, Seth Rollins. So I'm going to go Reigns. So there is our first difference. We'll see if either of the next 2 matches bring
us. I feel
like
that's deja vu because back at WrestleMania, I think you picked Roman And I picked Edge then too.
Yep.
So
you need to acknowledge him, Tom, and you're not. Just saying.
I want to though. I want to. I don't trust the WWE.
Well, and I can't blame you for that. So you need to acknowledge him, or he'll send Jimmy in a. Never mind. That's a bad. I won't say that. Tom just shakes his head at me for even going there. Women's Money in the Bank match: Alexa Bliss, Naomi, Nikki Cross, or Ash, is it? And Asuka, who all qualified the same night. The first night they did qualifiers for the Money in the Bank. Raw was able to get them all just handled in 2 tag matches. Versus Liv Morgan, Natalia, Zelina Vega, and someone they haven't bothered to tell us about yet. This has been the tale of 2 things. Like I said, Raw did 2 tag matches, and boom, they were in. I wish they would have done singles, not tags, but whatever. They did 2 tag matches. You had your 4 women. They're ready to roll. I will say I've seen the pictures of both last night and then last week when all 4 of these women, Alexa, Naomi, Nikki, and Asuka, teamed up. I saw a picture of them from last week from the 8-person tag that said, when all of your creator wrestler characters enter the Royal Rumble on WWE 2K at the same time, because they all are very colorful and interesting looking characters. Meanwhile, Zelina just gets added in when she returns on SmackDown. Carmella was handed a spot, but now Carmella has the women's title shot this Friday because taking the spot of Bayley. Liv Morgan had a nice little story going where she was trying to prove she was tough enough to get that spot, and then just gets handed Carmella's spot when Carmella's out of it, because that made 0 sense in the absolute world. And Natalia gets added on social media because Sonya Deville said she could, so she did. Dumb. The build for this has been weird. I think this comes down to, yes, it is my pick, right? Okay. I don't think anybody on Raw is winning this. Nikki won the 4-way that they had with those 4 women on Monday, so I think that pretty much seals the fate that she's not winning on Sunday. And I don't think she needs it yet. They're just getting that character going. I think it comes down to 2 people, maybe 3. I think Liv Morgan makes a lot of sense because of the story they had been telling with Liv. If you don't have her win Money in the Bank, what was the point of the story you've been telling with Liv? Of course, you didn't make her qualify either, which was part of the flippant story that you didn't bother to tell. But maybe they pick it back up and give it to Liv. I think the other option is the TBA person, because I think there's a chance that it's Sasha Banks. And that Sasha could win Money in the Bank and then challenge Bianca. And I could see Sasha doing I'm going to challenge you at SummerSlam. I'm not going to come up behind you and, cheat to win, basically. I'm going to tell you right now, I'm calling my shot, SummerSlam, you and me. I like that story a lot, to be perfectly honest. I don't know that you need the Money in the Bank briefcase to do it. I think you could have Sasha show up on Friday night and say, when Bianca wins, because she's beaten Carmella, let's just call that now, and have Sasha say, you and me, SummerSlam, point at the SummerSlam sign. Do they have a SummerSlam sign? Maybe they will. Maybe they should. So I don't know that you need her there. I also think there's a very big chance that Sonya Deville is going to put herself into the match in that TBA spot on Friday night. I hope that on Friday night we find out who it is, but you and I are recording on Wednesday and we don't know. I'm going to go Liv Morgan just because it's the story. It's what we've been telling. And then you don't have to have Liv cash in for a while. You can build Liv Morgan more. There's something about Liv that I like, and I think she's gotten a lot better in the ring. I don't know. There's something about her that clicks for me a little bit. I'm not ready to see her as champ yet, but I think you could build her. So I'm going to go Liv Morgan. I literally have written down here Liv/Sasha. So I'm going to cross Sasha Banks out, and I'm going Liv Morgan. That was the one I couldn't decide when I wrote my answers.
No, for sure. And I appreciate the thought you've given there. The way I approach this, and that would be the same for the men too, is, and this is also the issue with picking Money in the Bank winners. Much like last year when we had Otis dead last. And again, the way that story played out, he ended up losing it to The Miz, and we know how that played out. Is you have
They're to actually notice okay now, though.
Yeah, exactly. You have you have to try as best you can to trust an inconsistent booked and promoted product. Promoted is probably the wrong term. Presented product, and think about 3 months, 6 months, 9 months, perhaps down the road with this. There's a lot can change. A lot changes in WWE in 1 month, sometimes 2 months, sometimes. And with their return to the road and their return with some talents and shifting of talents in a draft, the briefcase winner that you might see, be it a Raw female or a SmackDown female, may not be, aligned to that title. And again, they can choose. So, no matter who the women's champion is on Raw or SmackDown, and we feel a little more confident for sure that we know that Bianca is the SmackDown representative, potentially Charlotte on Raw, you can't say, okay, well then who can I see on this list that's going to face one of those two? I agree with you, though. It's no one on the Raw side. The one story I would like for them to tell, and I don't think they could do a good job, would be Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss being the dark character she is, winning Money in the Bank, and then having that briefcase kind of like a threat would be a fun story to tell and to watch play out. But I don't trust them to do that. I think I've repeated myself enough 3 or 4 times saying trust.
She'd have Lily cash in, even though Lily's been gone for a while.
Oh, yikes. Nikki Cross, that would be fun. But again, if she's Ash, almost a superhero, if she wins Money in the Bank, does that give her superhero status? And does that then story just finalize itself there? Too early.
Every time I hear them say Ash, it's not what I hear.
Sure.
And I'm like, what? I get that it's a play off of Superhero in Training with Rosie back in the day when he was a superhero in training. Go ahead and do that acronym on your own, folks. We try to keep it PG here. I get that it's a play off of that, but I just think it's a stupid name. So sorry, you were talking.
You're good. No, you're good. On the SmackDown side, and Natalya gets off the, I know she said, when she had the match on Monday, she wants to be the first person to have all the belts at the same time. Sorry, Natalya, that's not going to happen. Actually, I can't wait for you and Tamina to lose the tag belts to someone else, probably to Shotzi and Knox. Zelina Vega, because they chose to bring her back and spotlight her, poorly albeit, would be a great choice.
Last week.
Precisely.
Do a little promo or something, a little video. I don't know, something.
Yeah. Yep. And as much as I think that your hypothesis about Liv Morgan makes sense, I didn't see that, but it does make sound sense storyline wise. So my pick is TBA. I know that leaves me wide open for it to be someone really goofy. I don't know that I see it being Sasha. I would actually prefer Sasha not win and call her shot. If Sasha wins, I'd love for her to be able to get the rematch without having to cash in and then maybe come up short and then go, okay, well now I've got this briefcase still. I think that adds a little bit more drama. So I'm going TBA, and I could see it being Carmella if she falls short on Friday, and she goes back to Sonya Deville and advocates to get back in. And could she be a third time Money in the Bank winner? That'd be kind of crazy. If it ended up being her.
Because she won the first 2 back to back, like James Ellsworth and then her.
Yeah.
So did she win it twice? I don't know how they count that.
They call her a 2-time winner. So, but,
okay.
Yeah.
Well,
TBA is my pick. So the mystery woman, maybe it's a mystery come Sunday, maybe on Friday, I shoot you a text and go, can you believe that I'm married to Toni Storm? And actually, that wouldn't be a bad idea.
It wouldn't be all bad, right? To bring her in and strap a rocket to her like that actually would be kind of cool. I think Toni Storm would be better than if it's Tamina. If they say, well, Natalya's in, Tamina wants in too. Okay, Tamina's in. I could totally see that being the story. And I don't think Tamina's winning Money in the Bank. And you and I could both be wrong. Zelina could pull it off, or one of the Raw women could actually end up winning the thing. So who knows? We'll see. I got Liv. You have TBA, which gives you carte blanche on a whole lot of people there, actually. So let's go to the men's Money in the Bank match. And Tom, you get the first pick here on our last match of the night. Drew McIntyre, Riddle, John Morrison, and Ricochet from the Raw side. Seth Rollins, Biggie, Kevin Owens, and Shinsuke Nakamura on the SmackDown side. What say you?
Yes. So again, I look at this in the same lens, or through the same lenses that I look at the women. I go, who could I see challenging potentially Roman Reigns, potentially Edge, or Bobby Lashley. Again, knowing that 6 months, those may not be the champions by any stretch. So the process of elimination for me, Riddle is out of it because I agree with you. Okay, bro, is coming down the path. John Morrison really is one of these things is not like the other here. I mean, I'm glad he's in, and I was very, very high on what he did with Ricochet lately. But he's the weakest link in this match.
And he'll do something crazy in this match. I mean, he'll have a cool spot.
He sure will. Ricochet, I'm super glad that they've given us a spot and an opportunity to again. Like, he's definitely been a peak and valley type guy between NXT and his Raw run. And hopefully he's peaking again, and they keep him here for a while. I don't see him winning Money in the Bank. Drew McIntyre, he's going to be out of the title picture for a while, so there's no Money in the Bank for Drew, and he and Jinder Mahal are going to fight over next week's material possession. So go figure.
Hey, it was a swerve, bro. It was a stand-in sword. Vince Russo 101. My goodness.
So then it makes you go to the SmackDown guys. So it'd be kind of crazy, maybe, that there'd be 2 SmackDown talents that come out of Money in the Bank as the briefcase holders. But again, this is a new era in WWE where SmackDown, being the Fox show, is something of note. And who knows what will happen in the draft. So they're not guaranteed to be SmackDown talents as they continue to carry the case.
And to be fair, to say this, because I would have said it when I'm making my pick after you, so I don't want to feel like I'm hiding anything. They have not said that you have to challenge the champion of your brand. Correct. They've said any champion. So
yeah. And I'm looking at it in the lens of going, wow, you're putting SmackDown over Strong by
it is 1 o'clock in the morning where you are. It's okay, Tom.
by having two guys or 2 talents from that brand or that roster win. King Nakamura, I'd love it, but that's not going to happen. So it goes down to the final 3: Seth Rollins, Big E, Kevin Owens. You can make an argument for all 3, and I don't know if I feel stronger one way or the other. If I had a 3-sided coin, if I could flip it and then just land on one of their heads, it might be easier than making the decision I'm going to make. I've wanted him to get pushed for a while, so I'm going to go with Big E. And I would love to see him hold on to it for the longest time. But then when he cashes in, come up short, because then I think his story is winning Rumble next year. But that's Armchair Booking, brought to you by Tom Bobo.
So I agree with all of your thoughts on the Raw guys. There's an outside shot to me for Ricochet only in the every once in a while we get a Money in the Bank winner that we're like, holy crap, they put in like CM Punk. When Punk won the Money in the Bank, I think for me, I was like, God, I didn't think he had a shot at actually winning it. Like, I wanted him to win it, but I didn't think he actually had a chance. So Ricochet is kind of that guy for me in this, in that if they decided to just go, oh, didn't see that coming, we're going to go a whole new direction here, Ricochet would be the guy. I don't think that's going to happen. If I'm wrong and they put it on him, that'll be great. I'd be thrilled, actually, to be wrong if it's Ricochet. I agree with you. Drew McIntyre is going to go feud with Jinder Mahal. In fact, I think there will probably be a spot where Drew is about to unhook the briefcase and Drew comes out and either distracts him or pushes him off the ladder or something. And so that makes Drew want to just annihilate Jinder because, like I was talking about Seth and Edge, he took that from Drew. He took Drew's opportunity to get back into the title picture, whether that's with Bobby Lashley, which they haven't really made clear. If he were to win Money in the Bank, could he challenge Bobby Lashley? Or would he have to challenge Roman Reigns or wait until Lashley lost the title to somebody else and then go after them? They haven't made that clear. I don't think it's going to matter because I don't think Drew's winning the briefcase. I agree with you. Riddle, RK Bros, John Morrison, thanks for coming.
Hey, at least he hasn't fallen off the face of the earth. You know,
right. What happens when the team gets hurt? You'd start chasing the 24/7 title.
Yep.
See Eric, you know. So I agree with you. Shinsuke's still doing his thing with Corbin, which I'm starting to like the new Corbin character. It's a little bit entertaining to me. Although I did think it was interesting that a week after losing his crown, he already had his car repossessed. Like, so he had enough money last week, but now he doesn't. His car got don't you have a month between payments? When are you paying your car off?
There was a backstage segment, I think, right after he lost the crown, where he had said he'd been losing investments and he'd been losing things, that it was so like it wasn't, but like that was like the
Okay, I
culmination
missed
of it.
that.
Yeah. So and they haven't done a good job telling that story,
But even if they tried, I'll give them credit for that because I thought it was a huge gap, and if they tried, I missed it. Kudos to them for even trying to tie that line up because I was like, I get to pay my bill once every month, not once every week. Good Lord, what kind of a buy here, pay here kind of thing? Like you're a WWE, you're a king, man. What are you doing?
well, and as much as I love what they were doing with King Corbin, so much so that I bought his action figure, and now I love King Nakamura, I would have preferred a King of the Ring tournament instead.
And I think we're going to get that eventually here. I'm just writing myself a note. After we're done with picks, I've got one more thing I want to just bring up real fast at the end of the show tonight. So again, I'm with you. It brings it down to the 3. I would love to see Kevin Owens win it because I think the world of Kevin Owens. He put out a really cool video earlier today. I don't know if you saw it on Twitter, Tom, if you had a chance to watch it, about 4 minutes in length. But really, he just talks about, hey, the last year's been tough on everybody and hang in there and keep fighting. And he's so excited to he was able to go see his parents in Canada. And the border was open enough for him to be able to get back and forth and then them to see them and how much that meant and how excited he is to wrestle in front of fans again this week. I mean, it's just very, very cool. And I think the world of Kevin Owens is a guy I mentioned on Twitter. I replied, not that he's probably ever going to read it, but I replied and said, that he was one of the nicest guys I'd ever had the chance to meet. I met him at a Ring of Honor show in Chicago briefly. You and I had a chance to interview him, albeit through email. Back in the original iteration of Two Spot Monkeys, and he was nothing but cordial with us and gave us, in fact, we were the first place that he mentioned that he wanted to be Bumblebee in Chikara because that's when Ring of Honor and Chikara were having their little bit of a war kind of thing. And then he ended up doing a promo in a Bumblebee mask, and that was after he had mentioned it on Two Spot Monkeys. That will go down in the annals of history to nobody except you and I that we actually know that, although that was by far on our old blog the most read interview we had ever in that iteration. And it wasn't even close. It blew everything else out of the water. Maybe someday we'll actually, it's crossed my mind that I would love to do an interview because we can have up to like 5 people on this program that we use to bring in and do an interview with somebody. Obviously it won't be Kevin Owens because WWE ain't even going to talk to us. But I think it'd be fun to do an interview again sometime. Anyways, big fan of Kevin Owens. That's my point. I don't see him winning it, though. I would love it. Again, if I'm wrong on that, great. Awesome. So it comes down to Rollins and Biggie, and I think a lot of this comes down to what happens in that Roman Reigns match, as I said. Rollins with the Money in the Bank briefcase and Edge as the champion makes some sense. I just don't think you need either of those things for those two to have the match that they seem to be going towards. So I'm going Biggie as well. I have a different reason, though, for going to Biggie than you do. You said you hope he holds it for a long time and then loses it. I think Big E, because of what Bobby Lashley does to Kofi Kingston earlier in the night, cashes his Money in the Bank briefcase in, and it's Big E and Bobby Lashley at SummerSlam, which I think would be pretty darn cool to see.
Yeah, that would be. I like that.
So that's where I think we had. Now, whether you put Big E over as the WWE champion at SummerSlam, I'd love it, actually. I agree with you. I think the story should have been Royal Rumble, been at WrestleMania, but the pandemic's kind of thrown everything off. So the first huge crowd you have at SummerSlam, you put Big E over, and now you'd go on your trajectory with Big E. If Brock isn't coming in for Bobby Lashley, and there's lots of conflicting reports on whether Brock is going to come in or not. If Brock isn't coming in, Big E to me makes the most sense, the next most sense. Can I even say that? Anyways, when you look at who Bobby Lashley could face for SummerSlam. So that's my thought. Another thing in the Roman Reigns Edge match, and I don't know, maybe things happen, but is Daniel Bryan anywhere around? I don't know. So we'll see what happens there. I don't know. He might show up somewhere else too. That's always a rumor as well. But anyways, we'll move on from there. Anything else about SummerSlam, Money in the Bank, Tom?
No. So we had 2 picks that differ: the Universal Title match and the Women's Money in the Bank. So
I'm not surprised that the Women's Money in the Bank we are. I'm a little surprised on the Universal Title match. So I hope that I'm right on that one. And it's a coin flip with Money in the Bank. We proved that last year. Tom, the last thing I just want to ask, it's really a quick question. Did you see the San Diego Comic-Con, speaking of action figures, exclusive from Mattel Creations Sergeant Slaughter figure that they're putting out next week?
I did.
I'm ordering that thing. It looks
cool.
beautiful.
It is cool.
It looks beautiful, and those kinds of things only go up in value. San Diego Comic-Con usually, although Isaac Yankem was a San Diego Comic-Con exclusive, I can't believe that figure costs a whole lot right now. They went through a couple years there where they were doing kind of crazy characters. I have the Shockmaster one, Isaac Yankem, and I think Red Rooster might have been a San Diego Comic-Con as well. I don't have Rooster or Yankem, but I do have the Shockmaster, which is one of the coolest packaged figures. Oh, that slaughter looked good. Anyways, I was super excited. Next Friday, so not this week, but next Friday when we won't have a show is when they're going to do the reveals for San Diego Comic-Con as well, where there's going to be a ton of figures, as always, revealed. I'm looking forward to spending some time watching that. Maybe we'll talk about it when we talk again. Most likely, again, just to talk schedule with everybody, this we'll probably hit the podcast feed on this Friday, the 16th. We probably won't be back with another show until the 30th is the earliest, most likely.
Week of the 26th was going to be what I said, but 30th. Our Friday recording schedule has been relatively consistent until this week, so that doesn't mean you're still not getting an episode until Friday. Sit there and wait, people.
That's right. It's already Friday when you're hearing this, unless you're watching us on YouTube.
So I mean, and we'll have a lot to catch up on. If we do not record again until the 30th, there will be a number of things: Money in the Bank, and
AEW,
and that will actually be on the verge of making picks for All Out. So,
no, we'll be a month.
A week away. We'll be a week out from that. Sorry,
a month out.
No, it's Labor Day,
which is the first Monday in September.
Oh yeah, that's right. It's late. I'm going July to September. I'm jumping a whole month.
We got to go through August, man. Don't make time move faster.
I already thought we were in August. See, that's my bad. So
no problem, man. All right. Well, it is ridiculous late for Tom, and it's gotten late for me. But but it's not late for you because you can be listening to this whenever. It could be bright and sunny in the morning for you when you're listening.
And if this has proved anything, it's that I should be drinking coffee when we record Two Spot Monkeys live, and I will not be drinking coffee tonight. I'll be going to bed. And as you can tell by that last comment on the schedule, I don't even know what time it is or what day it is.
Well, that sounds good. Tom, it has been a pleasure as always. Everybody, thanks for joining us. We went over 90 tonight, but a lot to talk about. So thanks for joining us always. Be safe, and we will talk to you again just as soon as we can. Take care, everybody, and enjoy Money in the Bank.